So my name is Petr Valčisko. This is for short Peter, and Will Moore just joined in. And this is our colleague. He just waved at you. If you please make him a co-host, so that he's got principally the ability to share the screen as well. Thank you very much. And we will do it like so. I will do the talking, and Will Moore will concentrate on the chat and or on interrupting me in opportune moments and telling me to show this and that according to your questions. With so many participants, it would probably not be that great if you completely start jumping in with voice, but you can raise your hand, you can use the chat and ask the question in written, etc. And of course, if the question needs to be shown and the flow has to be interrupted, Wilmore will know the best when to stop me, and or Michiel and Claire. So without further ado, welcome to the Omero workshop at the University of McGill in the Advanced Bioimaging Facility. First, a short presentation. I will tell you what is OME. This stands for Open Microscopy Environment, and then what is Omero, and then I will give you the workshop overview. We will not bother with the presentation tomorrow, so bear in mind that the whole presentation now is both 2 days. Of course, they are intrinsically connected. OME, this means the Open Microscopy team, is a team of free open source developers, a group which is purporting to be a hub in the wheel, a thing which connects parts which were originally not meant to talk to each other, such as the acquisition softwares with their proprietary image formats. You want to have it somehow connected with data management, with tagging, querying. You want to analyze those data and store somehow reasonably the processed data so that it has a relation to the original images. You want to visualize the images. We don't do quantitative analysis per se very much, but we enable third-party tools to do that for your images stored in Omero, let's say. Now, in order to do this work, this plan, the OME team ships software. Okay, one of the most important software packages which OME team ships is Omero. Now, Omero you can think of as an image management system. Okay, Omero is a server with clients. Okay, so let's go slow there. Client is an unfortunate word, but developers love it. The server, let's start there. What you know under the server, hopefully, is some mental image of a computer, which is quite powerful and which you don't normally handle, operate, etc. And which is additionally physically not there typically for you. So you can't switch it on and off or anything like that. You can't type into this computer, etc. But you have to somehow access a computer which you want to use. And almost every server is then accessed via internet or intranet. Internet is the typical case for the Omero case. And the way you access such server, which is, as we said, remote, meaning not here, somewhere else, is that you have somehow your local machine, like a laptop which you are sitting in front of right now. And on that machine, there is an application running. And using that application, you will connect via internet to that server. And that application I just mentioned, which is running on this local machine, that's what we call client. That's all what client is. Okay. Now, all the image data which we will use today, except for the ones which you will import during the import practice, are already on the server, and they have been pre-imported for you there. of course, what you want to have in Omero is to have the images on the server. We support more than 150 different image formats, and we do it using the Java library called bioformats, which is a bunch of readers which are capable of reading various types of images from all the domains highlighted on my slide. And we talk about a 5D image. This means that our what we call image in Omero has 3 normal dimensions and channels and time. These are the 5 dimensions. And further, you have some metadata on the server, which are stored in the relational database. So they are not just haphazardly strewn over the machine. The relational database is basically a bunch of objects which are linked together, okay, in a sensible manner. And then we also take very seriously the acquisition metadata, which are, let's say, in the original file. And then we have some provisions for the user added annotations, let's say post hoc after import. And if we talk about metadata, let's not forget about regions of interests, ROIs, and segmentations. Okay, you can search with within the Omero server using the big search. And then you have Omero Tables. Now, the Omero Tables are meant to be storage facility for your analytical results coming from the image analysis of the images stored in Omero. And it's quite performant in the sense that you can query them line by line, and you can have many rows, etc. And we can have some workflows during the workshop as well if you are interested in that. It becomes more and more popular. So this is a couple of examples of the images we have in Omero. You will see that this is the high content screening type of images. You have to think about 96 well played, and in each image, in each well, an image will be shot. And this has very often using, let's say, an automatic microscope with a automatically driven stage. And this will be stored in a format as a whole. And then this format, such as Lex or Operetta or such, will be read by bioformats imported, and that's how Omero Web will show it. We support the pathological image, the pathology images, or whole slide imaging, maybe better said, formats such as SVS, which are typically very large. These are not microscopy images, of course. These are CT scans of the whole brain. Very popular medical imaging format, DICOM. So these were just the examples of the image formats supported. And what is the Omero API, which we have on the next slide? Well, as we said, Omero is not totally concentrated on analysis, so we don't provide a lot of clever analysis tools, but we enable analysis of the images in Omero using this API, which stands for the Application Programming Interface. So you can think about that as somewhere in the center, you have something called Omero Server, and there are your images, and you need to plug into that in order to be able to access that storage and then harvest the information and analyze and put the information back. These plugs, these interfaces, this is exactly what Omero Application Programming Interface is, API. Yeah? The way to do that, let's say, might be that you have scripts written in Python, Java, MATLAB, R, or C++, and then you connect those scripts to your Omero, and they do something on those images, okay, or on the metadata, or both. So that's the Omero Application Programming Interface. But if you are not a programmer, you might be rather more interested in this slide. Nevertheless, the previous slide and this slide are actually kind of the variation on the same topic, because the integration of Omero with the third-party tools such as QPath, Fiji, Elastic, Orbit, R, Napari, MATLAB are achieved using the application programming interface ultimately, yeah? Because any of those softwares is actually written in a programming language, such as Fiji is written in Java. Okay, so obviously the Java application programming interface will come into play here. We have two main clients. Remember the word client from the beginning. You will get familiar with both actually already today. And the first being Omero Insight, mainly used for imports, and the second one being Omero Web. Okay, Omero Web is our main client. So basically the recommendation is use Omero Insight for imports and Omero Web for everything else. The environment in Omero Web is such that you can write plugins for Omero Web, and you can easily extend Omero Web in this case. Well, by the way, you can extend almost anything in Omero. You can extend Omero Insight as well, and people do that. You can extend the server, you can write scripts for Omero Server, etc. We can go in depth into that. But if we think now about Omero Web, these are the plugins. Omero Figure, which we will go through, of course, is right here, and Omero iViewer. Okay, is highlighted here. And you have basically an environment where you can click on an entity, let's say an image, but in some cases it can be a data set, and then open with that image with some viewing applications such as Omero Figure or iViewer or 3D Viewer. This is a little bit change of topic, but you will see very quickly why I'm talking about it. That's, let's say, Omero in action, or a production example of Omero called IDR. IDR stands for Image Data Resource, and it is a service which is run by the OME team and publishes imaging data. Its aim is to be a resource for the wider scientific community, such as gene banks are in the genomic world, so that scientists can submit their data there and search, browse, and ask questions which concern the bigger picture across studies, etc. And then, yeah, let's say reanalyze the data as well. The way this is done is that the OME team is accepting the submissions of the data which are published in scientific journals, meaning the imaging data underlying those publications in scientific journals. And the data are, of course, submitted by other people, by non-OME team people from the wider scientific community. Okay, and you're of course welcome to submit your data to IDR if you see fit. This, of course, has nothing to do with whether or not you have locally Omero or whether you are using it. But why is it actually in this bracket? Well, because IDR technically is nothing else but Omero. Okay. The workshop content for both days is to be found in the Omero guides. The Omero guides can be navigated from this presentation, but of course you rightly are asking where is this presentation. I will show you in a second when I'm done with that. If you click on this link, this is not the PowerPoint presentation. You will really be able to click. It's just like I do. Okay, and you don't have to painfully download anything. In a new tab in my Firefox, opened the Omero guide, and that's how it looks like. And I would really like you to bear that in mind, that anytime you need a real footing under your real ground under your feet with respect, like, what is this workflow about? I forgot step 17. Can you repeat that, etc. Even much later after this workshop is finished, that's where you go. That's where you find the stuff. Okay, we have a walkthrough as well, which is a PDF. I will show you in a second, but a reasonable person will, after a minute, realize that they don't need to walk through. It's actually restraining them. The Omero guide is kind of world per se, and they can use it using this search function. Let me go back to the presentation where I jumped. We also invested more time into the YouTube channel, and we have some videos. There was already a question about recording of this workshop. So we have YouTube channel, which looks like that. Again, there will be pointers to some videos, just like we pointed yourself already to this import data using Omero Insight video. But don't get stuck to that. Bear in mind, open microscopy environment channel can offer you much more, and be free to browse it. Okay, so by the way, in Omero guides, those icons here are clickable. So if you want to find about connections between, let's say, Fiji and Omero, or Elastic, Cell Profiler, etc., you just click on those icons, and the appropriate page of the guide will open. Now, what should OME user know is a sentence for facility managers. I would guess that some of you will be facility manager or are facility managers at McGill. Majority of you must be, by the nature of things, of course, users. But if you want to do routine training and user inductions and attract users to Omero, which you definitely want as facility manager, then there is a guide specifically for that inside the Omero guides. As well, there is a sub part of that which shows you how to get users started. And but for yourself, the Omero guide for users will be very handy, which is the Omero walkthrough example, which is almost always a good lead to take if you are thinking, how do I use Omero? I forgot everything from the workshop. Where do I start? So that's a very good starting point. Okay. Today's workshop now, what are we talking about technically? Okay. So let's go through step by step. First of all, there was an email to you asking you if you please download Omero Insight and install that application locally. That's a desktop application, as it says here. This part of the slide is your desktop, let's say the top left quadrant, and the Omero Insight is installed there. It's a Java application which is capable to connect via internet. This is this light blue line to the Omero server. Okay, the Omero server in this case is the training server, which is called with its own name Outreach, and this training server is in Dundee, United Kingdom, Europe, yeah, that's where all the data are pre-imported. Yeah, by the way, that's not the server, again, is not where I'm sitting. Okay, it's somewhere else. It's somewhere else for everybody. And we will use, as I said, Omero Insight to practice import images into that server. We will then go away from Omero Insight and go to Omero Web. This is the reason that Omero Web, which we would like to ship as our main client, does not have the importing ability. Yeah, maybe does not have it yet, but maybe there is also a question whether or not this is the wisest thing to drag a lot of data through the web interface at all. So that's why the dichotomy Omero Insight and Omero Web. Okay, Omero Web is a browser-based application. And you can use probably Firefox and Chroma here because they are the leaders in the market, but Safari works, Edge works as well. And tomorrow we will explore how to connect Fiji using the Fiji plugin for Omero with the Omero server as well. So this is another client of Omero, if you think about it. In this way, if you put a glue software between Fiji and Omero, you can make Fiji a client of Omero, making the local application which will connect through internet to the Omero server will be Fiji, in this case for tomorrow. Now, we will not go through all these softwares here, but the top right corner is again denoted with 2 blue lines, and they that's for tomorrow. The Fiji here is a local application, and local application is by nature different for every local machine which you sit in front of. If you want to have something kind of more streamlined and repeatable in a sense, then you would go to the cloud. This is also easier to spin up, so to say. So this is what the computing science calls cloud, although it's a very vague word. It's again somewhere else. You can see it's not even in Dundee. It's somewhere else. There are free services which allow you to spin up software somewhere far away. And like there is a small machine, small computer of yours which runs somewhere, and you can from that remote computer, which can be accessed from your machine via a browser in a friendly environment called Jupyter Notebook, you can execute code and access the images again on the Omero server. So we can try that tomorrow with Fiji, run headlessly in the cloud, as I said. Okay. And the Ome team is a grant-funded organization. Okay. So which I say is shipping free software, but the software is not, of course, developed for free. So we have the main sponsors are Wellcome Trust and BBSRC. So thank you very much for that.